Hey everybody, Anish here, career coach for the fiercely ambitious. Back at you today with a very important video on how you can identify, address, and eliminate career gaps from affecting your job search, okay? This is something that everyone deals with, by the way. It's impossible to really have any kind of a lengthy history of a career and not have these periods. Maybe it's a 3-month stretch, maybe it's a 6-month stretch, maybe it's a 12-month stretch plus. How do you address this and keep yourself from being perceived as a negative or a risk, right? For a lot of people who are in the job market right now, they're carrying the guilt around with this. They haven't addressed this and it's sabotaging their efforts because in their mind, they're thinking no matter how good of a job I do, the minute we start talking about this, I'm screwed, okay? So let's change this, okay? And I wanna give you 3 specific ways to address these career gaps, but understand, a big part of the reason people fail to do this properly is that they think it's a hack. If I just add this one thing to the resume, all my problems are solved. It's not going to work like that. Part of it is a solve like that. The other part is actually changing the way you're seeing your own career and your own journey. So I want to talk a little bit about both of those things because they really work part and parcel with each other, okay? The first thing I want to say about this, okay, and it's a broad umbrella, okay? You've got to extract the real meaning and lessons from that period. If you're looking at it and saying, I just wasted 6 months of my life trying to find a job, I failed at doing that, and now I have to cover up for that, there's no solve on planet Earth that's actually gonna do it for you, okay? So you gotta really ask yourself, as a human being who's more than just a professional, okay? As a dad, as a mom, as a family member, right? Ask yourself, what was the real value of that time? Maybe you weren't able to find a job for 6 months. Were you able to strengthen your family relationships? Were you able to strengthen that bond with your son just because you were there more, right? Were you able to get back into reading graphic novels and filling up the tank of inspiration and doing volunteer work or having an impact on this side or finally, following that curiosity, I had someone I knew who got into woodworking, in the midst of a layoff and a long job search period. So what is the value for you? And can you commit to saying, no matter how I feel about it, there was value there and there's value to be had from that period in the future, right? So I really challenge you right at the beginning, own that period in your life. Own that period that you're trying to leverage. You're not hiding it. You're not trying to insult someone's intelligence by pretending it doesn't exist, right? You are owning it. And that starts with owning it in your own mind and owning it in your own life. And if you start by just writing down all of the benefits of that time, all of the ways that made your life and you better, that's a great place to start, okay? So definitely don't start implementing these tips until you've done some work on that side, okay? Because the guilt and the shame is helping no one. It's a judgment that you're placing on yourself, that has no place in terms of where you go from here. Okay, all right. Number 1. Pivot to consulting, okay? Let's say you've got a 20-year work history, and in the middle of these 20 years, you had a 8-month gap. You had maybe years down the line, you had like a year and a half to 2 years, and then maybe you have a 4-month gap, very recently. Well, why not lump all of those into one entry, let's say in your resume, in your professional experience section, that is like independent consulting, or you could do a DBA or something like that. Put the name in there, and you're the principal or the owner, and you're accounting for all of those periods. So I'm just making this up. 1997 to 1999, 2005 to 2006, and 2019 to present were all periods where you were actively consulting, right? And the description would be very simple, advising leaders in how to scale, how to future-proof their companies, whatever you specialize in at the high level, and then you're out. And now here's what it does, okay? What it does is it takes all of those inert periods, instantly changes them from negatives into positives, instantly demonstrates that you've got that entrepreneurial DNA within you, and it gives you talking points, not just defense, defense, defense. How is this going to be supported? Not through a traditional job search though, okay? Look, if your job search is primarily talking with recruiters, HR, it's not helping your stance there. It is definitely not helping support the image here that you're an in-demand leader, whether you're in a full-time role or you're consulting, right? But here's the big one, okay? If you say the way I'm going to get my next role is through tapping the hidden job market, which means I'm going to primarily be building relationships with C-suite leaders, with people who are feeling the pain of that. Now your week is spent or weeks are spent talking with the exact people that you would be consulting with, right? adding value. Some of these are going to go into an offer. Some of these might be consulting roles. That happens all the time. People go out looking for a full-time role. They accept a high-ticket consulting. There's no real difference as long as your main thrust is targeting people that way and activating the hidden job market. And now you can use the conversations you're having as talking points for the next conversation. I've been talking with people at Walmart. They're dealing with a similar situation here. Here's what we were talking about there, right? You can use all of that to promote yourself as an expert and in-demand leader for what you do as only you can do it. So pivoting to consulting is a powerful, powerful way, but it goes through the roof when you join it with a methodology of finding roles that is more about tapping the hidden job market, quote unquote, 80% plus of all opportunities, by the way, versus doing it the legacy way, answering job postings, waiting, wanting to blow your brains out with frustration. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's number one. Number two, insert a brief career note. So let's say I have a 1-year gap in my work history, right in the resume. Between those two positions, if I add in career note, cared for family member, and strengthened family relationships, 2016 to 2017, right? A simple one-liner like that, right, will own that period, right? And again, a lot of this comes back to my initial piece of advice for you. What did I tell you? You cannot carry that time and that period with shame. You've got to own it. A one line like that is more than enough because we all are moms and dads and all of that. We know family. We know what it is to make a sacrifice. That's a heroic thing to take yourself out of the workforce. It's not something to be ashamed of, right? But I have to own it. And that means I have to place it right in my history, right as something that I can say, I'm accounting for the period that way. So a 1 to 2 line max career note is a very, very powerful way to also account for a career gap, right? Especially something that has to do with family or life circumstances like that. Finally, okay, you can input a second section within your resume after professional experience. Let's say it's board positions, volunteer positions, nonprofit positions, right? And you can have that and you can account for that time. So let's say within the actual journey of your resume and professional experience, it's going, but 2015 to 2016, there's a gap. Okay, so the last one ends in 2014, the next one starts in 2016 or whatever, right? Leave the gap in professional experience, but then in the second section of the resume, let's say it's volunteer experience, saying Tech for Tots, in Boston, Massachusetts, 2015 to 2016, I built out fundraising operations and brought technical infrastructure to a new level. Boom. Addressed in a very powerful way. So do you see how by owning the different aspects of who you are, it's really going to make that shift? And you should be more than welcome if you're going to use that volunteer, that second section methodology. Have a great story at the ready from that time. Something that resonates with you, something that's universal, something that strikes something in you, something about the why would be really great, right? So these are all three. One caveat, if you've got a career gap that's less than 6 months, strongly consider just moving the dates in your resume to years only and just eliminating it that way. You don't have to account for everything. And something that's less than 6 months, you can absolutely ignore if that's the right play. If inputting a career note is a better play, do that. Use your judgment. This is your career. You're the leader of it. No one's going to come down from on high and tell you what the right answer is when it comes to that last mile. That's something that your heart, your instincts, and your intelligence is going to do for you. But if you're taking videos like this, something tells me you already know exactly what it's like to take that form of responsibility, okay? So hopefully that really helps in terms of moving things forward. If you want to take this to the next level, here's what I recommend. Go over to helloanish.com right now, HELLOANISH.com. I have more videos, more career tips and training that other people are just not telling you because they don't want you to succeed as long as their paymasters are corporate interests. So if you want the opposite of that, you want to go over to helloanish.com right now. There's also a masterclass that you can take through the homepage that is going to teach you the exact 5 shifts that I lead my masterminders through to, in a period of weeks, get them out of the job search trap forever, get them professionally diving in and securing opportunities through the hidden job market and doing it for the rest of their lives. If that interests you, put everything else that you've got going on hold right now. Helloanish.com is where you need to go. Talk to you soon. Keep the questions and comments coming.